All right. We are live. Okay. So, hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
And to anybody who watches this on playback, hello. Just so you know, because, I guess it's proper etiquette now to say that kind of stuff. I guess. So, all right. Well, so I guess we'll just go around first and introduce ourselves for anybody watching this on playback. Kristen, you want to go first since you are our newest member?
Yes, it's my first official meeting. My name is Kristen from the channel Kristen Craves Books. I love witchy books, so this is a perfect book club for me. That's about all I got.
Sweet.
I'm Becky, the creator, who pawns off the responsibilities to her other cabin members.
Yeah, you hosted sprints.
Yeah. I do. But most of the time, I'm just like, and it's your turn and your turn.
I hosted a live show before it was even an official
That's
member.
right.
You made me do the book club.
This is
You
Titty,
did.
my child.
So cute.
All right, Laura.
I'm Laura from the channel of Book Circus. I don't know what to say.
We'll get some Sean appearances, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. If you see
somebody in her background,
random man in the background, that's Sean.
Our unofficial mascot.
Yes. I'm Jackie from First Lady Reads, for anybody who doesn't know that yet. And Becky gave me the honor of picking this month's book, which is what we're discussing. And that is The Witch and the Tsar by, still going to butcher this woman's name, Alessia Slanikova Gilmore. Sure.
Sounds right.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Party. So let's just so I'll run the dealio since I picked the book and I got questions. So first question, who finished it? I'm gonna count finishing it. Okay, I'm gonna count.
You have 5 pages. I got
5 pages. I'm done. All right.
You might as well count it.
Are you gonna finish the last 5 pages? That is the question.
Yes.
No, she's gonna stop there.
Are you
Stop
serious?
there, DNF.
No, right there, done. Like I've got the story.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm gonna finish it. I've got. I enjoyed it. So that's the next question. Did you, for those who finished it, one word to describe: enjoyment, dislike, whichever word you want to use? What was the majority of the feeling?
Underwhelming.
That's a good word.
Okay.
That's a good word. I found, I would say distant. I'm so distant from it. It was hard for me to connect to it.
Okay. And Laura, since you DNF'd it, where did you DNF it at?
Okay. I think I was 50%, over 50. Hold on, let me check.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Give it
I
a
was
shot.
listening to the audiobook. Okay, no, sorry. 42%.
Still.
That's still a fair shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, of a 400-page book. Yeah, that's decent. Yeah. That's a whole book. So, okay, so what is your one word for the portion that you read?
Boring. Unfortunately. I would agree with Kristen, though, distant. I just wasn't feeling the story.
Okay, so we have distant, boring, and underwhelming. Okay, so here, since I'm going to go with the first half, boring. I get it. I get why you DNF'd it.
Listen, I DNF'd it the first time, too.
Yeah, you did. This is the second time for you, isn't it?
It is.
You did.
I DNF'd it the first time. I don't know what percentage, but it was 4 hours into the audiobook.
Oh, yeah, so you gave it a shot then, too.
How long was the audiobook?
I don't know. But when I got it from my library again, it picked up right at that 4 hour mark. And I was like, I ain't listening to the first 4 hours again. So I just went on from there.
Well.
Our mascot has arrived.
Oh,
She's still there.
I mean, that's not inaccurate.
I was gonna
mask.
say it's kind of a good, decent. If of all the masks, that's a decent
Yeah,
one to choose.
it's a
I
decent one.
suppose.
The
I
audiobook's
think it-
14 hours.
14.
Oh yeah, it
Okay.
was long. Yeah,
Alright.
So,
That's a
you know.
that's a long one. Damn.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so
think-
I go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know that the audio was the best choice for the three of us.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that physically read this?
So I wonder if that's part of the.
Oh, I completely I agree with that because audiobooks will do that shit to you. And
Mhm.
this thing is slow in the beginning reading it. Like it's that first part, that first half, you're like, oh my God, is something fucking going to happen? But the second half, shit's going down. And
Like
we get
65% is where I finally like my brain started like well, granted that's also when like the romance kicked in too. And so I
yeah,
was more interested in it.
yeah, when she
And it
met
did.
the
It
knights.
got me through once I hit 65, it got me through the rest of it really quickly because I was into the relationship and what was happening with her story and like the war aspect and all that.
Yeah.
But it took a lot.
Don't get me wrong, I 100% agree. It was not until she met the knight. I'm just gonna call them the knights, because I can't pronounce the actual fucking word they're called. Once she got to them, that's when I was like, okay, that is about. It's probably. Did you meet the knights, Laura?
I think so.
She
Probably.
saves one of the boys.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I was
so
right there.
Yeah, that's where the shit starts to pick up. But you're already like halfway through the books. You're just like, this is dumb. I'm not wasting my time with this. Yeah, I completely 100% get that. So this is going to lead the discussion really, really interesting ways because I got some questions. So, question number onesies. One, not two. One. In the first part of the book, where she goes to Moscow and deals with the whole Anastasia part, because a lot of the story felt like two different stories. I don't know if you guys felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I got to, and you felt like did you feel like you were reading two different stories?
I felt like I was reading a bunch of different stories. It was almost like episodic in some ways. Okay, this chapter, and then suddenly we've gone in time, and I'm like, where are we? So in some ways, it felt like a bunch of different. But I could see the two overall. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Which of the two was your favorite?
The latter half.
Yeah.
The latter half. Yeah. So why did we even have the first half? Couldn't that just been like condensed down to like a prelude?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like
That
her
was
backstory, but it didn't
Yes.
really you didn't get that emotional connection that I think the author was going for.
Yeah.
So it didn't land because it's like you're supposed to understand her, but her her connection with Anastasia, I didn't feel that either.
Yeah,
So
I
when
didn't
it
really
happens
feel
to
like
her,
that was
it
really
wasn't like, oh, that's really devastating because
yeah.
I wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean?
I
So I
felt
don't
like
think
the
it had the
whole
impact.
Yeah, I felt that whole first part was completely a mute point. All I
Yeah.
really need to know was that she had some sons and they were going to be influential later on, and the chick that killed her. Like, other than that, nothing else came from that because all of the action was after she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a moot point the first 50% of this fucking book. And I was like, oh my God, you could have condensed that to like 2 chapters.
I agree.
With as much time jumps as there were in this book, you could have condensed that so much more.
And I think the problem is once you get to 50%, for me, I didn't enjoy the last 50 really because I was so checked out of it. I'm like, I need to get this done because I'm not enjoying my time.
Yeah.
So by the time I read 200 pages, I'm like, do I care about these 200 pages left, even though it is a little more interesting?
Like, I enjoyed the last few chapters.
Oh yeah, there's things I
like
enjoyed.
what happened with her and her husband and how he he had to like go and find himself and she wasn't sure if he was going to come back, and her daughter, how that worked out and all that jazz. Like, I was really I wasn't really interested, but I was more interested than any other part.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I like the second half so much more. But the first half is what gave you all the history, which was really kind of the disappointing part of me for this book, because I love historical fiction, and the historical fiction in this book was the boring part.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
really was.
I hate historical fiction. I am not a
So there you
historical
go.
Oh,
fiction
so this is a
reader.
horrible book
There.
for you to
So
choose.
it's like that first half is just
This is a horrible
painful.
pick.
And I like historical fantasy, and I usually love the setup of a historical fantasy. Like that first 25% of a historical fantasy, some of my favorite stuff. So
Mhm.
for this to be so boring, it was such a letdown. And I like these kind of books, like the Cersei kind of thing, where you're talking about a villain's origin story. Like I like that in theory.
Mhm.
So I thought I would love this, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I thought
really didn't feel like this was very historical fantasy. The
Yeah.
fantastical elements were pretty minor, aside from like the whole gods thing
when she's
and her
technically a
being
witch,
Baba Yaga.
yeah,
Like it was so minor. I feel like
Um,
this is much more historical fiction than historical fantasy.
yeah.
It almost feels like historical magical realism.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, light
Yeah,
fantasy.
definitely.
Yeah.
So in the first part though, we do get to, well, I mean, it's constant throughout the entire book, but you get to see more of the Baba Yaga in like her, I guess, lack of a better word, natural state. The lore that we know about her the most was more concrete in the first half. How did you guys feel about that? Since we did read, and Kristen, I don't know if you read this book, but last year we read One for My Enemy, which
I did
features
read it. Yeah.
you did read it. Okay, so
Yeah.
cool. That does feature the Baba Yaga and Koschei the Deathless. How did you feel with a completely fantastical romance around that element compared to more of historical accuracy? Did you guys see similarities? Did you not? Are they totally polar opposite? What are your feelings since we've met both of these characters before, completely different book setups? And I believe, Laura, that was one of your best books of last year. So I'd really like to know what
That's
your
funny.
opinions are on it.
I saw a lot of similarities in kind of like the relationship dynamics in the first half between Koschei and Baba Yaga because they had moments where they were like maybe together, but also working against each other. I liked it. I liked that aspect of it. And I was like, oh, that reminds me of that. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of it though in the first half.
What did you guys
Yeah.
feel?
I just don't feel like this is like the Baba Yaga that I'm familiar with. Because you like think of her as like an older woman who's like eating children, correct? Isn't that like the folklore that they tell kids? So now it's like this 30-year-old, really beautiful Baba Yaga. I was like, I don't know if I'm into that, like making her that way. So I was like, I don't know. That's what I was struggling with the most with that. So I wasn't really like making the connections between One for My Enemy, though I did love that book too. That's interesting. That was a good book.
I liked it. I noticed the similarities. I was like, oh, yeah, we've read these characters before. I actually didn't mind the whole idea of her being like a younger witch because it felt very fantastical and it felt like an origin story for her. I liked her. I liked how she kept calling her house the little chick.
Yeah, that's cute.
I thought
That's
that was cute. So I didn't. I found the similarities, but like the first half, I didn't care. Like I didn't care about her relationship with Koschei. Once it was mentioned in the latter half, when she meets who's the dude she ends up falling in love with?
The Knight is what we're calling it, right?
I don't know what his name is. But
I called him Vasha. That's how I said his name. I think it was like
Vasha. Okay, yeah.
Vasha. Vasha was like the pet name. So
yeah. So like once she got with him, I felt that chemistry much more. And then when she would bring up Koschei, I'd be like, oh yeah, that happened, but I didn't care about it.
Mm-hmm. I was actually really anxious, like little ulterior motive. That's one reason why I picked this book. I just didn't tell anybody that because I wanted to ask that question to see if they was like similar, because this is only the second book I've ever read featuring the Baba Yaga. And the first one was the One for My Enemy. So that was my only like foray into her in fiction. I mean, I've read the historical stuff about her, but not like the fictional stuff. So I was really anxious to see how two authors wrote her. And I was really actually surprised that I saw as many similarities as I did. But obviously biggest thing was that for the other book, she was in modern day times, and she was a mother of like a bunch of kids. And according to lore, she wasn't supposed to have any children at all, which I didn't know. So that's why Marina, however they say her name, was so special. And I thought that was really cool. And I personally enjoyed seeing how Koschei lost his heart. I loved how we got a story behind that. That was
I feel like I'm used to seeing Baba Yaga as this wizened, older, grandmotherly figure who is, able to give advice and who has been through some shit and has lived. And like, because that's the role that I see her take in other stories that I've read before. So it was weird seeing this Baba Yaga who was just like new to things and had to be almost apprenticed to someone else and not really know what she was doing in life yet. So that was kind of weird, and that threw me off a bit because and I did like, this is compared a lot to The Bear and the Nightingale. I don't know if anyone's read that.
I just marathoned that. I just marathoned. So I'm like, maybe that's part of my problem is I literally started January the year reading all 3 books, all 5 stars, adored them.
Yeah.
I want to read that
series. They're really good.
They're amazing. Of course you did.
She's got a new book coming out that, Kristen, you also put on your most anticipated release video, and I did too. And I'm like, yes. But I haven't read the other series yet.
I did.
You have to read it.
Even though I'm scared. Because
you
World War
I haven't watched yours yet then. I haven't watched yours yet. It's still on my to-watch list.
I'm kind of scared about it because it seems so historical fiction and not much fantasy, and now I'm like, oh no.
But I'm
gonna read it.
Slewfoot, and Slewfoot was historical fiction.
It was.
I loved Slewfoot. Okay, I really wish I had been able to be on that live show because it was so good. That book.
Yeah.
So I think when you say you don't like historical fiction, there's just like certain historical fictions you don't like. This being one of them.
Yes, that's true. But also anything to do with the war, World War I, World War II.
Oh yes, they can be very overdone.
Her new book is centered around World War I.
Yeah,
World War I.
Yeah.
I love the wars and stuff like that. Like I love reading stuff about wars and fictional stories during it. So I'm really excited about that. So do you think maybe because this does feature a lot of it's not a war that Ivan the Terrible was in, but like his reign, is that maybe one reason why you might have DNF'd it? Because the second half is really getting into all like the horror that he did. Since you don't really like war books?
Yeah. I think that was definitely a part of it.
Okay.
Then it was just boring, let's be honest.
Okay, see, I found the second half, all of that carnage that Ivan the Terrible did was fascinating because of what she actually put in. She was graphic as okay, she was talking about just the atrocities that this man put people through and the angle that she gave him why she was doing it. It wasn't even him doing it. He was being used by the god. By a god. So it wasn't even like his own doing, which completely eradicates any of this idea of like this madness and stuff, which I thought was cool. I ate the second part of this book up. Like I said before we came on, I read the last 300 pages today. So today I sat here and barreled through these. Yeah. And I'm not a very fast reader. Like I can read a lot of books, but I don't read very fast when it comes to historical fiction unless I'm like hardcore into it. It also helped that the romance was really sweet. And I ate that up. I love the romance. I did. I wanted it so bad.
It was cute. It was a cute romance.
It was sweet.
It was just enough to like
you needed that romance. You needed the romance.
I needed that romance to make
to add a little lightness, something to root for, because there was nothing to really, even for her as a main character, it was hard for me to root for her because I wasn't connected to her. She was kind of naive, and it's just hard for me to, knowing, like Laura said, what Baba Yaga is. I had to pretend like, okay, this is not the Baba Yaga, Did it even need to be Baba Yaga? Could it just have been
a random witch?
A random witch?
Yes.
like, did we need to have, or was that just a way to like market the book kind of thing? Like people, because Baba Yaga retellings are a thing.
Yeah.
Because
I think it was a nice way to take, everybody knows her as that wizened witch. So to see her start that journey is something that
wasn't
people
she
haven't
100
seen
years
before,
old?
so-
Wasn't she
Yeah,
like
she was
a
like already
1,000 years?
like a couple hundred years old at this point.
Like
so.
you're still this naive, and then will she age eventually to the older Baba Yaga, or will she still 30 forever? Is that the
I don't
lore
know.
of this one?
I don't know.
Didn't
But
quite
see,
understand that.
they even alluded to the Baba Yaga that we know in tradition.
Yes, that's why I was confused.
Like it was like a rumor. So
yes.
is it really? Does she really like this? Or
Well,
was
did
that
she
the
have
plot?
the ability to like glamour herself? Is that why people thought she was an old? Was that ever mentioned?
No, she was just called a witch. She lived with some people a couple hundred years ago, and they turned against her because people are stupid and they fear the unknown. And they called her a Vegma, which I guess means witch, or like some kind of other heinous word or whatever. I don't actually know what it means. I don't speak Russian, and that's a area that we're going to discuss here in a little bit, because there's Anyway, moving on. They called her like a Vegma, and she just like completely closed herself off society and allowed all these like rumors and gossip to spread about her, which is where the eating of children and the skulls hanging and her hairy skin stretched from one end of the room to the other, which I was like, what the fuck? I don't even remember that. I don't remember that one at all. I was like, okay, I don't remember that one. But
there must be different takes on Baba Yaga.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the author references that they made that up. So is this really what the Baba Yaga actually is? And everything else is just conjure and speculation?
So that was a way to get past that, where it was like, those are all rumors. This is the real Baba Yaga.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess it's
You
fair
gotta
enough.
start
But I don't know that
somewhere.
I
I'm
love.
sure she was young at one time.
I actually like that. Normally I don't like when historical fiction like takes something that you know and as actual like, okay, it's going to sound, hear me out. Okay, I will explain myself. When it says something is actual fact and then completely manipulates it to do what they want, Baba Yaga is still a mythical lore. So even though tradition with her lore has said all this stuff, it's still lore. So the author had the right to be able to manipulate it at will. And I enjoyed that she did, because it stopped me from seeing her as that old crone figure that we're used to seeing, and got to see her as kind of like the origin story that she's being created with right now. If she had not done that, I think it would have been much more difficult. So,
well, and even though she's like a young Baba Yaga, she apprenticed for somebody.
Yeah.
Who perhaps that apprentice was also a Baba Yaga. And so maybe it's not so much this is the Baba Yaga as it's a Baba Yaga.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. That's what I thought they were getting at, kind of. So I wasn't sure.
So what did you guys think of all the Russian?
It's hard in
you guys listen
with
on
the
audio.
audiobook.
I physically read this.
I was trying to figure it out. Did they do the Russian and then they would give the English version afterwards?
Not every time.
Not every time. So it wasn't very consistent, which I don't mind. Like, commit to one, but I can understand just putting the Russian and then not putting the English, because you don't want to like hold your Western readers' hands, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like she just kind of threw the Russian words in it randomly.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was hard for me on the audio because I had to keep pausing and going back.
Yeah, because she has a glossary in the book, which I haven't. I kind of previewed, but it's more just telling you like who the mythological characters are, the places, and stuff like that. Not so much words.
I just rolled with it, and I sort of like, even though I don't understand it, which I do with most books, even though I don't understand what they're saying, like in the context of the story, I get the gist of it.
Yeah, because
I know absolutely no Russian.
I went on Google and typed them up.
That's what I was trying to do, but I didn't have the thing, so I'm like, I'm just gonna have to go with it, I guess.
I feel like for the audiobook that would have been cool, because actually hear the Russian being said would have been really cool. Because for me, I had to pronounce most of these names, most of these places, and there's not a pronunciation guide. There's just a glossary. So some of these words, I'm just like, the ceiling.
Like, what I'm hearing is this is a book that we would recommend immersion reading.
Immersion reading
with the physical. Because I do think it would have helped me to have the physical.
Okay.
Because I was trying to focus so much on like even the way that she words some things. Like there's a lot of adjectives, a lot of metaphors, and I felt like I wasn't like visualizing what she was even getting at. So a lot of it just didn't stick with me. I heard it, it meant nothing to me. Moving on.
In one ear and out the other.
Yeah, it didn't stick. Because I think there was some beautiful writing there that I just didn't appreciate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There were sometimes, like, even physically reading it, the way she worded sentences, I'm just like, did she see an editor?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure she just skipped like a whole fucking sentence. Like I checked to make sure I'm like my page stick together or something. Nope. No. Okay. That's the sentence you wanted. Okay, we're gonna go with it.
I don't know.
Yeah, like,
I had it on like 2.5 times
Oh,
speed.
I don't know how you did that for that one. I
Because
could
I
do
was
2.5,
so
but
bored.
not for that.
Yeah, I was, listening to it. I'm just like, okay, come on, give me some moment that will stick in my brain. And like, the only moment that like clicked for me was when the romance began. And I was like, okay, now we're paying attention. Everything before that, other than her calling her house the little chick,
Of course.
like I couldn't really pinpoint anything that stood out to me.
Yeah, I think part of that's the way that it's written.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't think it was a bad audiobook,
No,
but
I
I
like
also
the
don't
narrator.
think it was a great audiobook.
I didn't mind the narrator. I just don't know that. I don't know. It was just. I think a lot of it comes down to the writing.
Yeah. Because I do feel like the narrator did a decent job of like with the Russian accents and all that jazz. But again, I'm more of a fan of dual cast narrated books and stuff like that. So when I get a singular, they really need to inflict their voice for different characters for me to be sucked into a story. And she was very monotone.
Even but at 2.5 speed, could you even tell?
Yeah, I can.
I have to slow this
believe
one
it or not, I
down.
can.
So, this is her debut novel.
Yes.
Would you guys pick up another book by this author after reading this?
She has a new one coming out in October.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Something about Moscow.
You
The
mentioned
haunting of Moscow or something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'd wait for reviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this actually, like, The Witch and the Tsar has a 3.5 something on Goodreads, I noticed. So it's getting some mixed opinions. I feel like I would wait to see how people felt about it. How many DNFs there are. Because I feel like there were a lot of people that DNF like Galore at the beginning. So I'm open to trying it because I like, in theory, what she does. You know what I mean? I like the project of her stuff. So I'd be open to trying.
Is it a paranormal? Is it like historical fiction paranormal?
It is. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
I think it would depend for me, like the genre and like what she was, like if it was fantasy, like what's she retelling or what's she trying, like what's she doing that's different from other things.
It's a gothic horror tale set in the post-revolutionary Russia. Two formerly aristocratic sisters race to uncover their family's long-buried secrets in a house haunted by a past dangerous and deadly to remember.
Well, that just sounds awesome, and yeah, I would read it because I want to pick up more from this author because I actually enjoyed her writing. I did. Minus the slow part, but it was slow. Like when I'm looking at this book, I'm like, yes, a lot of people are going to think this is slow, but for me, I was okay with it. But that's just me, so I have to like take myself out when like recommending stuff like that. It's like, yeah, the first half. Do you really need it? Probably not. Is it fun if you're into that kind of thing? Sure. But it's still really slow because nothing really actually eventfully happens in the first half of the book. But parts of that half become necessary later on. So you have to have them. So you still had to have at least parts of that story to get through. So,
yeah, I had to know like what were these gods and what led her down this path. But other than that, I was just like.
And the connection with the sons, I guess.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
But post-Revolutionary War sounds like something Laura would really enjoy.
Laura would love. But it's gothic horror and it's a haunted house. Those are buzzwords for me.
I'm just like, yes.
Those are, and that seems very different from what we got from this.
Yeah.
It does.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so one aspect of her writing, and I don't know if this is her doing this or her editor, whenever she put the book together, I really did enjoy was the interlude sections. How we kind of got a separate story in that, and it was separated out so I actually could see, okay, this is a whole nother storyline. But they all kind of, I really like when authors do that because it kind of gives you something to kind of keep you going. And that's honestly what was keeping me going in that first part because I'm
Same.
like, what the hell is this story about? I don't even know who the hell this person is. Like, seriously, what is going on with this chick crawling in some primordial ooze right now? Like, I don't understand what's going on, but I want to keep going. And then we learn about Koshay's story and how it ties in. And I'm like, I like this. I like this setup of the book. So what'd you guys feel about that? Seeing that you had an audiobook. How'd that work out for you guys?
I didn't even pay attention.
They were my favorite part. I thought the interludes were my favorite part. It's kind of sad. I was like, I'm enjoying the interludes more than the actual story. That can't be a good sign.
Yeah.
But like you got good information in there. I really liked the interludes. But I always like an interlude. I like that. I know it might be some people might say like it's kind of a lazy way of giving information. But I think it actually adds intrigue for me.
What about you, Laura?
I barely remember the interludes. Like, I don't know.
They didn't stick.
Like,
they didn't stick with me either. Like I remember hearing them. I remember hearing the word interlude.
I remember hearing them too.
There weren't that many, but I did enjoy them.
Yeah.
But
really
if you asked me what was in those interludes, I'd be like, nope.
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
They happened.
I really enjoyed them. I had a good time with the interludes. They were probably one of my favorite parts of the story.
I agree.
Just because they were those juicy morsels of like intrigue amidst all this like kind of just like repetitive, mundane, everyday kind of stuff. So it was like, okay, yeah, like I feel like the author put some thought into if it was her or talking with her editors, how she set this book up, being like, hey, she realized that some of her stuff was kind of dense and heavy. I need to throw some really weird rando shit in there, drops that people don't actually understand to keep them going. And I like that kind of stuff because it's like a puzzle. And I eventually get all that puzzle pieces put together and I'm like, that's awesome.
I hate puzzles.
Oh no.
They're so boring.
They're so boring.
You spend all this time piecing the pieces together and then
you take it apart as soon as you're
then
finished.
you either take it apart or you glue it together and you just frame it and it's like, oh, okay.
I find it very relaxing. I like puzzles.
I'm a puzzle person.
I like puzzles.
I love puzzles.
Yeah.
I just got a new puzzle today.
What is it?
It's one of those, and I've never done one of these before, but it's like an escape the puzzle type thing, like escape room puzzle. There's like clues. So the picture on the box isn't the same puzzle that you're getting.
Oh, that sounds frustrating.
Oh,
This is awesome.
Like me and Sean were putting together the edges and we were like losing our mind. But it was fun. So
my husband and I do puzzles, but my husband is colorblind, so puzzles are really difficult for him.
oh, he's been summoned. I didn't mean to summon you.
I heard his name and here he is.
I was talking about our puzzle. Oh, you're working on it now without me?
How dare
Oh,
you?
rude. That is
Okay,
against
didn't
the
make
law
any
of
progress.
puzzles.
Did you feel like back to this book? Did you Did you God damn it, I forgot my question.
She just didn't want to talk about puzzles anymore. It's so boring. Can we move away
There's
from
something about
puzzles?
the ending. I had it on my brain and then puzzles popped in and
Mm-mm.
Did you see the ending, how it turned out coming? Like, did you think it was going to end the way that it ended?
If this happens in the last 5 pages, I don't know.
Oh.
Can you refresh my memory? Are we doing spoilers?
All right. Well, where are you at, Jackie?
5 pages.
I have 5 more pages.
We just sit here and just let
her
Jackie finish
husband
it.
hasn't come back, right?
Huh?
Her husband hasn't come back,
Not yet.
or has he?
No,
Okay.
he hasn't. I'm
Spoil
hoping
alert,
he comes
what
back.
happens?
I'm hoping he comes back because if this bitch doesn't give me a happy ending, I'm gonna be like, that's annoying as
Okay, so see, you were wanting the happy ending. Okay.
I did. Yeah, I totally
Okay.
did. I wanted her to have a happy ending, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna be slightly annoyed. But if it does, if
It
it
has
doesn't,
a happy ending.
well, there you go.
And I was
Honestly, what I saw happening though, and I think I'm safe because I think I passed all the action because like Celica's gone, so I think I'm safe now. What I really saw happening was that she actually had to die.
Interesting.
Baba Yaga.
Yeah, like she actually died. That's what I was waiting for. I'm like, this bitch is actually gonna kill her off. Because why? It's a Russian book. Have you ever read
Yeah.
Russian authors? They're all about killing off their fucking characters. All right? They're not about keeping them happy. They're not about keeping them safe. They're about like pain, war, destruction, blood, and misery.
Well, and that's what I was expecting from it.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to end with I was expecting her to die and her daughter to have to become
The next Baba Yaga.
the next Baba Yaga.
That's what I was expecting.
And
Maybe it still happens, Jackie. You don't know.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
after her husband comes back.
But I think a lot of these villain, like you take a character that's a villain in mythology, they rarely have a happy ending. So it's kind of refreshing. Because you're supposed to get how they became like who they are, so it wouldn't really be happy in theory, correct?
And sometimes you're just in a fairy tale mood and you want to root for the villains.
And you want to root for the villains.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of these.
I wasn't
kind of books
rooting
out
for
there.
the villains in this story. I was like, kill them all.
Yeah.
I hope they all die. And this man better come back to his wife. Because I was kind of upset because I thought he died, actually.
That's what I thought too. Because like when he goes that little trance of Celica's, and she's like, "You're better off without him," and he goes back in war. I'm like, he did resist you. He didn't go to you. He went back to the battle. So what? That one kind of threw me. And then when she came out, and it was 2 months later, which really threw me. I did not expect it to be 2 months later. I'm like, wow, this town has survived a siege for 2 months. Shit. Damn, okay. And he's just like this glazed over like zombie looking thing. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I don't
But
know
no,
exactly.
it ends in a happy way. Like I thought so in my review, I said I liked that it was a story of hope. That was one of the things I liked about it because that's what I took away from it is that it was just a story of hope.
I was also expecting, and this might still happen. I don't know. This was my theory is that because to defeat Celica, it had to be balance. Okay. So they said that she might have to die. Her immortality was taken away. Like her inability to die was removed. So she now was no longer deathless. She actually could have a death.
Yeah.
And that's what
been it too.
Yeah, I was like really expecting, but nothing like that has like been kind of dropped or anything. So I'm like, so she's still gonna end up living alone because he's gonna die. Well, damn. Eventually, he will die. I'm like that.
Yeah, he's not immortal.
Yeah. But I love their goodbye, like their goodbye. Like I thought that was great the way she did it. She had him say like, "You're the love of my life," and then leave. And she's like, "I feel like this is a goodbye because it fucking is, bitch. It fucking is."
Yeah, and that's why I was expecting like him to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been devastating.
It would have been.
When I was getting into this damn thing, somewhat like, mildly, I was like, "Sure, now you're gonna kill the one thing that's keeping me connected," but shouldn't.
Hey, even though you might not liked it, the book made you feel something, did it not?
There you go. Hope, apparently.
Didn't make me feel hope. It made me feel like the book was trying to tell me that it was about hope.
Laura felt boredom.
I felt boredom, and then I felt mild interest, followed by relief that he didn't die. So there's my three feelings.
Hey, you felt
So
something.
I felt
brought something out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a robot. I felt something.
I didn't feel too much by the second half, not gonna lie, because I was just so checked out of it. So
See, the second half is when I started gearing up for it. I was checked out in the first half. I was like, and then I was like, I got to the second part, and then shit started going down. Like action started happening. I was like, where were you in the first half of this book? Because you could have wrote the first half of this book like this, with this like intensity and this level of action, and I would have been in it through the entirety of this book.
and
But
she
you
could have,
didn't.
because things were happening in the first half that could have been like that.
Exactly. That's
It
why I'm
just
like,
was
why
not
didn't you write it
written
like
that
that?
way. Yeah.
Mhm. Like, why?
So what would you rate this book overall?
Me?
Yeah.
Solid 3.
Okay.
Because half of it was really good and half of it kept me intrigued, and it kept me sitting in a chair where I could read 300 pages
Yeah.
in one sitting and not want to stop.
Hmm.
So yeah, that you earn at least a 3 for that, even though the first half was hard to get through. But the first half, I didn't mind the first half. It's just I know a lot of people won't ever get past the first half because of how slow it is. They won't
Mhm.
give it the shot it needs unless somebody says so. Unless somebody's like, no, you just have to
Well,
barrel through
somebody
it.
makes it a
It-
book club pick.
Yeah, like
even
the
then,
three-
Laura's like,
anybody
no.
watching this that
No.
wants to read this book, like it's good. You just have to get through it. You have to give it. And most people think 50% of a book, at 50%, if I'm not into it, I should be done with it. You are totally 100% right.
I'm
Mhm.
like, if I'm
Breaks
not
the
into it in
exception.
the first 10%, I'm out.
Yeah.
As I've learned with Buddy Reads with Becky.
You know, like I'm not into this after like first 3 chapters.
First,
Bye.
you guys like, I'm not gonna like this, and I know when I'm reading. I read a book with Becky recently that we both ended up DNFing, but I picked up the first chapter. I was like, Becky's gonna hate it. I get a message. I think I'm gonna DNF this. I'm like, I saw it coming a
It
mile
was
away.
Feybound, which Laura's loving.
It was
Oh, you
what?
are?
I finished
Feybound.
it. I had a lot of issues with it, but overall I like the story. I just
What
feel
book
like
were we
there's
talking
Feybound.
Feybound by Sarah Al-Arafi.
Okay.
Mhm.
You have to look it up. Yeah, she
I'll have to
wrote
look it
she has another series that was pretty popular. I forget what it's called.
Yeah. But DNFs aren't, they're easy for me.
They're
That's
hard
why-
for me.
That's why when
They're
Laura's like, I just want to DNF more, I'm like, yes, do it.
Yeah. And I have been. Oh man, I
There you
DNF'd
go.
so many books this month.
Oh no.
Me too.
I have not DNF'd anything yet because I just don't know, because this one is an example of why I don't like DNFing books, is because this thing turned it around. If I would have DNF'd it where I was wanting to DNF it at, I wouldn't have gotten the ending or the end part, which I really did enjoy.
But you only
Did it-
gave it 3 stars, so even if you like had DNF'd it and you never knew how it ended, would it have like significantly impacted your life in any sort of way?
Yes, I do not like not finishing books. It
You
irritates the
think
crap.
about it, you'd stew on it.
Yeah, I DNF'd a book last year. The first book I hated. I did not like it. I thought the heroine was stupid. I thought she did stupid things with her person. You can watch the weekly wrap up of me ripping this
The
thing
Witch's
apart.
Lament.
No, it wasn't that.
No, no, the witch. I DNF'd that. I
I
DNF'd
did
that.
finish it. I did read it. I did. I fucking finished it. I just haven't continued on with it. This series, I saw promise in it. So I finished the first book and I picked up the second one and I DNF'd it at 50% because even 50% on the second book in a series, a direct follow-up, there was still no change in anything and no growth. Then I felt good. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you can't even change your characters in book 2 and halfway through. No, I'm done. I don't care about your storyline. Your storyline is pointless. It's mute. Your heroine learned nothing from the first book. Your dudes are still jackasses. Nah, I'm done. Thanks. But it took a book and a half for me to
Okay, you
DNF.
still
a
tried
series.
it.
Like
Yeah.
a series. So a single standalone, it's almost impossible.
And the thing with that is now you're curious about her next one, having finished this one, and
Yes.
maybe you'll love her next one. So I
Yeah.
understand some of the. Yeah.
So what did you give it as a rating, Laura? Or why do I keep calling you Laura? Kristen.
2 stars. I haven't rated it on Goodreads yet, but I'm giving it a 2.
See, I
Because
gave it
it's not a-
2.5.
It might be a 2.5 on Storygraph.
I
You
gave
know
it
how that goes.
2.5.
Because I didn't absolutely hate it. I'm like, no way is this a 1-star book for me. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely not. Like, I was
No.
thinking, like, I was debating 3 stars, but I'm like, no, because I've already DNF'd this thing. And it took me 65% in to get interested in it a second time. So
Yeah.
I was like, it's kind of on the level of a Fourth Wing for me, you know? It's that kind of level of, I read it. Wasn't
Very
the worst
different
thing,
book.
it wasn't the best thing.
Yeah.
Got
I know what you mean.
2.5.
I feel good with the solid 3. Like
Mhm.
if I was really breaking everything down, because I don't do Storygraph or Corpole, however that one is.
Oh, call
Yeah.
File. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do any of those breakdowns. And I just do the 1 through 5. I might do like 3.5 or something like that, depending if it's like, but this is a solid 3 for me because the second half is what gave me the solid 3.
That's what
Yeah.
got the 2.5 for
Yeah.
me.
The first
Would
half
you give the
would have been
the
a
second
2.
half? Would you give the second half a 3 or a 4?
Me?
And then then with Jackie, and then you average it out to a 3. Is that how you?
No, the second half, even with the action and everything, was still a 3.
Was still a 3.
It's the first half would have been like maybe a 2, 2.5.
Yeah.
The interlude sections, because one of the things I do look at when I'm like rating stuff is like how many falls and drops I had, like how many ups and downs to the book, not emotional, but like how I was feeling with the book. But like, I don't want to read this. How easy for me is it to put it down versus how hard is it for me to put it down? And I had pretty much equal balance. So that's where the real 3 comes in when you have books like this. When you have standalones, it's like how many times do I not want to put it down?
I gotta say, if this was a series, I would not continue.
No, me either.
So it's a damn good thing it was a standalone.
I might have to agree with you on that one. I probably wouldn't continue a series, but the idea of her second book intrigues me to see if she writes it the same way she did when this one. If it's
That's
just
what I'm
the
curious
same
about.
way, where the first half is epically long and boring, and then it picks up at the end, then I will probably not pick her up as an author anymore.
This is my plan. I'm
yeah,
gonna
if
let
that's what
Jackie read it. I will watch Jackie's review, and then
Yes.
I will decide.
All right, let me just put that on my list of books to read
Yeah.
in the fall. Be like, Kristen, this is for you. You should
There,
totally.
this.
But
Yeah,
I
no,
think
this is my
if
plan.
a 3-star was the highest 3 of us gave it, Lori, you're not missing out on much.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
would
I
we
don't
not
think
recommend
so.
pushing through.
I don't think it was worth pushing through if a 3-star
No.
was the highest we could give
Yeah.
it.
Especially given what we know about Laura's taste in historical fiction.
Okay, there's
not
one
like-
question I have for Laura because Laura, you do you're Wiccan, right? If I remember correctly, you said that.
Not
Or am I-
Wiccan, no.
No,
But I do practice witchcraft.
practice witch. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think I've said that to you before, and I keep getting
Yeah.
it wrong, so I apologize.
That's fine.
What you got in it, all of the herbs and the actual potions and concoctions and charms and things that was actually involved in that first half. How did you feel about those, and maybe the accuracy of them?
It was good. I appreciated it. I just the story was so distractingly boring that anything like that I could have picked out of it wasn't like I didn't really give it much thought, but it was fine. It was pretty accurate, I would say.
See, that was one of my big questions for you because I was like, I know she kind of does stuff like this. So I was like, I wonder what she feels like because it was jam packed and she didn't just say created a potion. Like she actually said all the stuff that went in it, which I thought was really cool because I have a friend who does like the herbalism and she does all this kind of stuff too. So like I actually recommended to her. She just did my hair today. I got my hair done. You can't really tell,
Nice.
but I got it done. But I actually just told her, I'm like, you should read this book. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you're going to hate the historical fiction because she doesn't care about historical fiction. But she likes the Baba Yaga and it was kind of a different take on her. But I told him, like, the thing you're going to like is all of the potion charm description. So, like, there's other elements of this book that can draw more people into it other than just the Baba Yaga. And I like that the author gave multiple things that people could attach to. So whether it is Ivan the Terrible, whether it is a Russian setting, whether
Like,
it
I
is...
gotta say, her acknowledgments Was that what it was? Where she gave like the history of where she pulled stuff from.
Yeah.
I
didn't
found
read
that
those.
fascinating because I'm always fascinated by where authors pull their inspiration from when it comes to historical fantasy and historical fiction, and
Mhm.
just to see how much of it they include in the actual story. I
Yeah.
actually listened to that part.
I didn't listen to that part.
I do not listen to that part in audiobooks.
It just I only listen to it if I love the book.
Because I know
Otherwise-
Jack about Ivan the Terrible, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So,
I know he was terrible.
Yeah, it's
Obviously.
terrible. I wonder like how people will feel like. How did you feel about the fact that he was being like controlled by the goddess? Like, does that take? Is it like her kind of like taking away some of what he did because he wasn't responsible for it himself?
I don't know. Guess you'd
I
have
feel
to
like-
ask somebody who was impacted.
Yeah, I feel like some people might not love that. You know what I mean? I thought it
Yeah.
was interesting,
Yeah.
but
Be like,
Well, I mean,
giving
he
him an
still,
out.
she still gave him the paranoia. He was very. I know that he was. The paranoia thing was right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could tell she did a lot of research. It wasn't like
Yes.
she knew almost too much. Is how it felt. Like because she knows so much, she wants to put it all in there because she's done so much research. Obviously, this is like she's passionate about Russian history and folklore because that's her next book coming out and everything.
Yeah.
But maybe it was pare it back a little bit. We don't need everything.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind everything. Like I kind of liked all of that because I think it broadens the book to more people. If like somebody knows that if they're interested in like the herbals and things of that nature, be like, look, there's other aspects of this book, but there's a lot of that in there. And it's not a character in the book, but she uses it on a regular basis. She's referencing it a lot. So it's just another layer to direct more people to have them learn about more things. Now, granted, yes, this is fiction. It is fiction, but it opens up eyes to more things. And so I love when authors incorporate a lot of different elements. And I didn't really think the potion thing was overused. I really enjoyed those parts. What I thought was overused was this first half Anastasia thing.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I did not
I
care.
didn't either.
And we should have cared. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Like I didn't care about that tie-in. I rather like she went there and she couldn't take care of her and she died. Like give me that in like a prelude.
Yeah.
And
Because
like
usually when I'm reading books that have like mythology and folklore
Mhm.
things in it, and I'm like really into it, it makes me stop reading the book to like Google some shit to see
I
like
think
where.
it's yeah.
Because that's what I did with One for My Enemy. Because I was like,
Mhm.
oh, crochet. I've heard that, but it wasn't in my brain, but I had heard it somewhere, and I'm like, I need to know like where this stems from. So I had to
Yeah.
like stop reading that book to find out where it stemmed
To learn
from. And
more.
in here, it was just like, okay, I know some of Baba Yaga. I know Crochet the Deathless now. There wasn't really anything else to like make me stop and want to be interested in what was going on.
Yeah. Which there could have been, like if you were like the Ivan the Terrible history and stuff.
Yeah,
like in theory, there were
exactly,
things that could have sparked that for you.
Yeah. Because I still don't know shit about Ivan the Terrible because I wasn't interested enough to even look him up.
Have you read like other books? Like I know this is compared to like A Witch's Heart. Did anybody read
I've
that?
read A Witch's Heart.
I loved The Witch's Heart.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, like is it the same
that was
kind of
one of-
concept?
The Witch's Heart is Norse,
Norse.
not Russian.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
but is
not
it taking like a villain in that mythology and
yeah,
explaining
kind
her
of.
story kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like Kaikei, I read Kaikei.
Mhm,
of
I read that
It's
one
like-
too.
Yeah,
No,
So,
The Witch's
yeah, it
Heart,
sort of
if you've not
stems in
read it,
that.
go read it. It's
that's
fantastic.
the one. That's what I want to read.
I listened
I'll
to
read
the
that on my own.
audiobook of that one and I really enjoyed it. Because
Um,
I didn't know anything about Angerboda.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that then.
I'd
So it's
never
not a
even
book
heard
club
of
pick because you guys have read it, so I'll do it on my own.
So
Although she does have another book out called The Witch's Weaver. It just came
The
out
Witch
last
and
year.
the Weaver. Yeah, I
The
want
Witch
to
and the
read that
Weaver.
one.
Yeah, that was my other option for my choices, but I went with this one because of One for My Enemy because we'd already met this character.
Yeah. Well, I'll save The Witch and the Weaver. Maybe we'll do that in the future.
Yeah, when you showed that, I didn't want to be like, oh, I would much rather read that, Jackie.
Yeah, I know.
Because
They
you
were
were
both
so
on my
excited
TBR.
for this one. I was like,
I
I'm
was.
gonna read
Okay,
it.
so here's my thing. When I bought this book, I bought it not knowing anything about it. It was a new release at the time, and I went to Barnes & Noble, and it was one of those shopping trips where I was with my daughter, and I was just like walking around. They eventually handed me a basket because I never take one, and they come over like, "Do you want a basket?" Yes, I want a basket. I'm holding 12 fucking books right now. Give me a goddamn basket. I don't want to be that person. You'd have to go ask for one. And so they give it to me, and then I'm walking around, and at some point in my shopping, I've walked around the store so many times that I just start grabbing shit.
Yeah.
And this was one that I kept looking at. I'm like, we're
Was
gonna grab
Was
her
it
and
the
go for it. It's
cover
fine.
or was it the title that caught your attention?
It was the cover.
Cover?
Yeah, the cover is cool.
See, because I was interested in that too, because I saw it, and well, I saw The Witch and the Tsar, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to have something to do with Russian. It's got witch in it. So that's what intrigued me about it, and I had tried to read the audiobook, DNF'd it, and then my friend Kim, bless her soul, she sent me that physical copy. And I was like, I've already DNF'd this, so I sold it.
Oh.
And so when you said you wanted to read this book, I was like, damn it, I just sold that damn book. So I was like, I'll just redo it from the library again. But the paperback, I think the paperback, which is what I should put on like our little thumbnail thing, I think that drew my eye a lot more than the hardback.
I never saw that cover until you put it on the little thumbnail. I was like, what fucking like I for the longest time I'm like, did you put the wrong book down?
The wrong book.
And so I looked at it, I'm like, no, that's the right book. And so I had to look at it, I'm like, oh, that's the paperback. Because I'm like, I'd never seen that book at all. And I'm like, did she put the wrong book down? Like, is there two books that have this title? Shit.
I saw it when Hannah she hauled it or something, and I was like, that's such a prettier cover than that hardback one.
See,
I like the hardback one. I like the hardback one too, and I feel like it fits a story better.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. Something about the giant face with the little blue thing coming out of her face.
You mean the Kremlin?
Is that what that is?
All
I see is a face with a little blue thing in the middle of her face.
Becky had it in her hand for 5 seconds because she had already DNF'd it. Didn't look too close. Yeah. You're like,
no, see, Becky, if you had told me you had DNF'd it, I would have picked another book until after I had picked it. You didn't tell me you DNF'd it until after I picked it.
I didn't want to be like, oh, Jackie, I've already read that and already DNF'd it because nobody else had read it. So I was like, no.
Yeah. I was like,
I'm not going to say anything.
Because Kristen was like, oh, I wanted to read that.
Yeah, I did.
Like, awesome. I picked a book somebody else wanted to fucking read.
Yep, and that's why I was like, okay, this is what we're going to read.
I kind of like the way that we pick in this book club. It's like, okay, this is what we're reading. I don't care what you guys think. This is the one I'm
Well, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like, nope, you can't pick that. I've already read that.
But it leads, if everybody loves a book, the discussion is harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like when we did Sloop It, we all loved it. It's like, okay, okay, great. So then what do we say? Because we loved it.
What did you think about it? We all loved it.
It was great. There's like nothing to pick apart. You're like, okay, see ya.
Okay, speaking of loved it, what is the thing you dislike the most about this book? Was it a character? Was it a setting? Was it an event? What was your most disliked moment or person, place, thing in this book? Laura, you go since you DNF'd it first. You found yours first.
I mean, yeah, like there wasn't anything that I could even pick out to be like, this irritated me the most, because it just overall everything was just felt the same. Like I didn't latch on to a particular, like if I was hating something, I might have just kept reading just to like keep hating it. But like I wasn't, just hate Reddit, but I wasn't. It was just,
I think that's for me. It was like every character, because I just felt, except for maybe the love interest, because they just felt two-dimensional. Like I'm such a character reader, I couldn't connect, like hold on to anybody. Mm-hmm. That was like what I disliked the most. It was just, I like the setting. I love the setting. But for me, it was the characters.
I didn't like Ivan the Terrible.
Well,
he was probably the thing I like every time he was mentioned, and every time I was like, I don't care. I don't like you. Get off the page. Where's my romance?
This is gonna tell Becky's a romance reader because that's all.
Yeah,
she
you can
talks
see.
about.
Yeah.
We need to do a witchy book that has no romance. See how it goes.
Oh God, she'll have a heart.
Oh,
Well,
God.
Slewfoot really didn't have a
Hey,
romance.
Slewfoot didn't have much
Sort
romance.
of.
Liked that.
You were rooting for it to become a romance, so I just know.
I was.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's what they were. They
What
were
was that
kind of.
middle grade we read? Laura, it didn't have any romance in it.
Which one?
That middle grade one we read.
Oh, yeah. That didn't have romance in it.
Oh, was that next month's book?
No, that was like last
Yeah.
book.
Oh,
What was it called? A Taste of Magic? I don't have it.
Yeah,
Oh,
A
Pinch
Taste
of
of
Magic.
Magic.
Taste of
Magic.
Magic. Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
in that one.
Yeah. So I don't need romance. It's just if I'm bored as shit, you gotta throw something in there for me to latch on. And romance is the
Some.
easiest thing to do that.
Mm.
I disliked all the Russian words.
Fair. Fair.
I dislike that a lot. Just and it's not that I dislike having foreign languages in books. It's not that. It's just I can't pronounce the shit and I felt stupid majority of the time. Like every time I say this author's name on a video, I don't even know if I pronounce this correctly. I feel like a moron. So it made me feel stupid having all the Russian in there without a translation.
Well,
So-
it's like no one can pronounce Russian
Yeah.
words unless they're Russian. You know, like it's
Yeah, I'm
Russian.
just like,
And I do think that the way that she did it was kind of odd.
Yeah.
Like it would be a full sentence, and then she'd just throw in a random Russian.
yeah, like when they were like, they found out somebody died, it sounded like they were, what I presumed it to be was like the sign of the cross in Russian. I'm like, just say that.
Yeah.
But you're saying it in Russian. I don't understand what it is. Maybe it wasn't sign of cross, but that's what reminded me of
But
like,
see,
they're
that's
like,
a problem
"Oh,
because you
know,
don't
I'm
know.
so sorry.
You don't know
No.
what it is, so you couldn't even use context clues to figure it out. 'Cause a lot of the
Exactly.
times you can, and it's like, okay, obviously this is something like I can
I
put it
feel
together,
like
but if
maybe
you
that's
can't,
where reading like the ebook version would come in handy because sometimes
put the
with
thing,
e-readers
yeah.
you can like
Yeah.
highlight it and it can
Yeah.
Mhm.
translate for you.
yes, I love that.
I usually really like foreign language in books because languages fascinate
do
me.
too.
And especially if it's a language that I'm not familiar with, then I can look it up and
Well, that's what I had to do.
I like it. Yeah.
Like
I
I
had to
hate
look it
it
up.
when authors put foreign to us English people words and then they put the English translation right after. I hate that with a passion because I'm like, I'm not dumb. If I don't know what this is and I'm genuinely curious as to what it is, I will find out. You don't need to say a word in a language that I don't understand and then put it English translation right after it. It's
That's why I think she could have put a glossary.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I
you can
agree
provide
with
a glossary or something like that,
Yeah.
or you just don't need to do it in general, and people can figure it out.
Figure it
I mean,
out.
but I hate it when
Yeah.
because it almost feels like it's repetitive. It's like they said this, and especially if you do kind of know what they're saying, and then you have to read it, and then you have to read it again in English. It
If
annoys
you're-
me.
Like she did a glossary, but she didn't do a glossary of just terms and what they meant. It was like glossary of
So it wasn't of the words; it was of like the
It was like-
characters.
yeah, so it was so like Moscow, the capital of Russia, the center of the Russian Orthodox Church during Tsar Ivan's reign, and now Moscow was where the Tsar, kind of like her little description of like what this was at the time of this book kind of be written
Mhm.
during the 1500s.
But none of the actual words.
Yeah, but none of the actual words or pronunciation guide. How to pronounce it. So, like if you're gonna use foreign language, and I think it's cool too because language is language, and it's awesome. But if you're gonna use a language that uses a completely different alphabet than what you're writing it in, maybe putting it like in a footnote down below with like a little star of what it means. So if I want to look, it's right there on the page. I don't have to A, look it up online, or B, I have to flip to the glossary that you've included in the back of your book. Like just drop at the bottom of the page in a footnote. I would have appreciated that a lot, actually.
Yeah, for me, my biggest thing with that, in this case in particular, was just no context clues.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times when I don't mind foreign language in books, and I don't really need the footnotes all the time, because a lot of the times I feel like authors are skilled at, okay, I know what this means just by the nature of the sentence and what's happening. But I did find when I was listening to it, so I had the pronunciation and everything, but it wasn't like clicking what that was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Every time.
Yep,
So
I get
you
it.
have to like do it in a certain way that works.
Yeah, I agree. So,
Those were my
Anything
picks,
else?
guys.
I think it was a good book club pick because there's a lot to talk about.
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
You got varying opinions. You got a DNF, a 2-star, 2.5, and a 3.
There you go.
I think it's really funny whenever, like, I've noticed this when I pick out books in book clubs, like, because my other book club used to be like this, where we just, each one of us would pick a book and then we read it. I love that because you get, like, kind of the different variations of what people's tastes are. But I find that my books are always they're either everybody hates them or they have the most polarizing viewpoints because I usually pick historical fiction shit.
Well, that's why I wanted y'all to pick books, because if I just picked them all, y'all would be reading some
Romances.
fucking fantasy romances.
I'm down for that too.
I'm like, no, I want a more diverse selection of books.
You just don't want the blame of a witch's lament again, Becky. Like, let's just be honest.
That's
You don't
right.
need
That sounded good though. I was
It did.
excited
It
about it.
sucked.
Hey, y'all
Yeah.
picked it. I gave you options, and that's what you voted on.
We did vote. We did.
So
I
it's
am
all
choosing
my
to forget
fault.
that moment in my life, so it did not happen. I do not know what you were talking about.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, what to say? Today, actually, you know they have that Stuff Your Kindle Day. Today is a witchy book.
I saw that. I didn't see
So it's
any that I
perfect.
really want.
I
Well,
haven't
think I
looked
picked
through
up
it yet.
two.
I didn't look through it. Is it witchybookworm.com or something?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I think I found 2. But I was like, really? This is my selection? Ooh. I was really
I don't
hoping
think
that
there's that many.
Graysquire book that you had picked would have been free, but
That's how I got it from Stuff Your Kindle Day. So I wanted to see if it was on there and I didn't see it. So it's bad.
no.
But there's an audiobook for that one too.
I'm hoping it becomes free.
Which
Yeah.
one?
Gravebriar. It's the March.
March pick.
Grave Briar?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's a YA.
Oh.
Yeah.
My
Oh.
favorite.
Becky's like, yay, a YA. I love those kids.
Those are my favorite.
She's
I
probably
love
excited.
angst. I love
I'm sure she's
teenagers.
excited for next month's too. She'll probably be like, oh, I can't make next month's.
What is next month's again?
It's a middle grade.
Fuck.
I haven't read a middle
at least
grade
I
in
go
a
to
long time.
read fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I have that going for me.
It
What
is
Yeah.
Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch.
It looks cute.
It's a thicker book than I thought it was.
It's
I got the
400
thing, I was
pages.
like, that's a thicker book.
I didn't realize. But I mean, it's middle grade. It's probably
is
middle
really
The words are probably giant for my blind
Yeah.
soul, so that's helpful. But I was like, wow, this is not a thin little middle grade. This got some heft to it.
Is it by Ava Green, is what you said?
No, it's
Julie Abe, ABE is the author.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I
couldn't
think
find it. Like,
somebody who has or Audible, look and see if it's free if you have an Audible subscription.
Oh.
I will check.
Because I swear I saw that somewhere and I could just be lying.
oh,
It looks
she
very-
turns 13. Mm,
No, you have to buy it.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
you have to.
Well, poo, never mind then. I thought it said on my Audible thing it was like 0 with an Audible thing. I was like, oh.
It's got an average of 4.13 stars on Goodreads this
Yeah.
next month's book.
It's like small town slice of life looking, and it's like I like the trope of a witch who doesn't really have control of her power. I think that's fun. So like she's like making mistakes with her magic all the time. I think that's cute.
Yeah.
Like turning random people into giraffes, like our last book.
Is that what happened in the last book?
Yeah, for some odd goddamn reason, she turns me into a giraffe.
Yeah.
And she was an adult.
Yeah.
Was that the Christmas one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I meant to get to that, but I didn't.
You didn't miss much.
No, you
No.
didn't miss anything.
No.
It's in a series. There's like 3 more after that.
Will you be continuing on, Jackie, since you don't need
No.
listeners?
I finished it, but I mean, okay, let's put this. If I get like do a read along or like a readathon, then I need like a holiday prompt. Yeah, I will go to that one in a heartbeat.
Because they're short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I won't read that one next Christmas, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, don't. Don't. Well, if you do, definitely don't listen to the audiobook. It's
No,
awful.
the audiobook was the best part
That's
of
what I
that
had.
Not
one.
awful.
I had the
He was a
audiobook.
British hummingbird.
Oh my god.
He was the best part.
Worst
Don't listen to
accent
Jackie.
ever.
The audiobook is the only thing I have because it is free on Audible.
It is free
It is
on
free.
Audible.
That's the only reason I listened to it. Because I wasn't gonna buy that thing.
No.
I remember it's like there's a British hummingbird.
I was
The
like, okay,
hell?
I really
And
want
the
to read this
grandma's
now.
a reindeer.
The grandma's a reindeer.
It is. That was the best part of it. I mean, it
Who's
wasn't
obsessed with
great,
candy
but that
canes
was the
and
best
kinda
part.
horny. She's just a dirty
But I'm
old
hoping
lady.
that this middle grade that we read is better than the last middle grade we read. Because I was
Hopefully.
hoping to really enjoy that last middle grade, and it was just 3 stars.
This will be the
Mhm.
first middle grade I've read since probably middle school.
Jackie,
Oh wow. Maybe you'll
Yeah.
love
expecting
it.
you to like get sick or something.
What?
I'm expecting you to be like, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I can't make book club tonight. I'm sorry.
Like, I'm sorry. I know this is written for like 13-year-olds and below.
You don't like young adult, Jackie.
I
so I
don't.
can imagine you're gonna love
I
middle
know.
grade.
It's gonna be so bad.
I'm guessing there's not going to be any romance. So.
No.
Nope.
And if there
There's
is,
probably
I might
not.
actually be intrigued because I'd be like, okay, well, what the hell? All right.
I
Weird.
highly doubt it.
I have a good feeling. I think I'll like it.
It looks.
I hope it reads fast though, because February. Well, no, February's not a short month. It is just a short month, but it's not because it's also leap year,
Leap
so we
year.
have an extra day in
Mhm.
February.
But I
So,
feel like in February you're trying to like read all the
It's
romances.
like
and
2
things.
months shorter than the rest.
yeah,
You know, those 2 days really make
2
a
days.
difference.
yeah. Hey, 2 days can make a difference. Okay.
I want to see how long the audiobook is.
Yeah.
Just
Are
in
you
curiosity.
reading it physically, Laura?
I think I'm going to. I don't have an audiobook for it. I mean, I could get one.
I don't
but-
have Audible anymore, so
The audiobook's only 9 hours and 19 minutes.
see,
Oh,
put
that's
that
not
in
bad.
19 times speed,
No.
and you'll be done with that in 4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously it's 400 pages, but it's middle grade, so the writing's big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the physical, so I'll be reading the physical.
I'll probably read the physical. For book clubs, I like to do physical unless there's really no other option. Like the Jingle book, I wasn't gonna buy that
No.
or put it on Kindle. I was like, nope, not doing it. So it was free on Audible. But usually for book clubs, I like to physically have the book because
Well,
If
what
they
we've
just don't-
learned, Jackie, is don't buy an entire series, though.
it was really
Yeah.
fucking cheap, lady. Okay.
Which series?
Which
You
is
bought
woman.
the entire Witch's Lament series.
No.
I think I'm just gonna rage read it one day. I'm gonna get fucking tanked and video me reading the whole fucking series and be like, this is me reading a series that I know sucks.
That's
You're welcome.
hilarious.
I'd be
Yeah.
finding a little free library and slipping them right in. Get
They're
rid of
really short. That's the thing. It's like that's the one reason why I kind of feel like I
Doesn't
want to keep
matter
them
if
is because
they're
they're so
short,
short. Because if I
Jackie,
ever
they
do
suck.
read-alongs or something, be like, here you go, Shires.
I would not recommend that if people needed a short book.
No. There's so many other ones out there.
Yeah.
There's other
I'd
short
be
books
into
I would
that one.
recommend before I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I'm okay. So back to this book. I am slightly disappointed because I did expect this to be a lot better. So like I was hoping for at least a 4 out of this. And so the fact that I didn't get it is kind of heartbreaking. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not super happy with it because I was
Yeah.
expecting this to be a
It
4.
went up for me. It went from a DNF to a 2.5. So
Yeah.
There you go.
it
So it's so bad.
improved.
Now, Jackie, you just need to read The Bear and the Nightingale and compare.
Yeah, that's on
part of my
list
problem.
series to buy. I don't know if I should read it first before I read her new book, or I just go with her new book because it seems more interesting to me because I haven't picked up the series prior to it. It's always intrigued me, but I've never gotten around to buying it. And this book, I'm actually excited about this one. So I'm wondering if I should just wait and read this one and then read that series if I like this one.
Yeah, because this one
And if I
think
don't,
is
then
a
I'd be like, I didn't waste
standalone.
money on 3 books.
Have
Yeah.
you read that series, Laura?
The Bear and the Nightingale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. That's one of
Of
my
course,
favorite
you're-
series.
Just
I
read
have
Jackie
been
and your
told-
terrible.
I have been told that the first book is usually most people's favorites. Like a lot of people prefer the first book out of all the 3.
The third book was my favorite.
Third
The
book your
second was
favorite.
mine.
Really?
But the first book, I can see it. I was going to ask you about that, Laura, because I feel like the first book is so historical fiction.
It took me a while to get into, and funnily enough, I had to read it because I was running the book club at the bookstore that I worked
Oh, that's
at.
hilarious.
That was the book, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna love this, but I like loved Vasya as a character.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
so that kind of kept me going, and then the second half of that was just amazing. So
It was just too descriptive for me. I was listening to the audiobook and I'm like, this is so descriptive.
that's what I love.
I love it. That's funny that we all have different. Like the second book is by far my favorite, but they're all 5-star. Like that's a 5-star series. One of my the perfect way to start the year. And I actually like her middle grade horror too.
Oh yeah, I read the first 2 books. I haven't finished it.
No, I
The
haven't
series.
finished it either, but
I
think
didn't even know
she's great.
she had a middle grade horror.
The first one's called Small Spaces.
Oh, okay. I know which one that is.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
visualize the cover.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't visualize middle grade. I think the last, well, I don't know. Is this middle grade? It might have been middle grade. There was a book called, was it called Rebel Angels by Libba Bray?
I think that's young adult.
Young adult.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's
okay.
YA.
Because I read that in high school and I really liked that series and I never continued on with it. I always debated maybe I should go on with that series because it was like a magical school academic setting. She fell into a well and went into like a secret garden type thing. It was actually pretty cool. But I want to say, was Rebel Angels the first or the second book? Maybe. I don't know. It was by Libba Bray. I know that. Hold on. I'm
Yeah,
going to
she
look
has
it up.
quite a few books, I feel like.
So yeah, I think I tend to like middle grade and adult more than I like
Why?
YA because like middle grade you don't get, the hormones.
Yeah, A Great and Terrible Beauty. That was the first book. A
Oh,
Great and
I've read
Terrible-
that.
I remember
I've read
reading
that.
that. Yeah, that's definitely
Rebel Angels was
YA.
the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in like a boarding school, right? And isn't there
Yeah.
a sapphic
I might
romance
pick
in
that
that
series back up because I read that in high school. I read the first 2. I never read the third one. I might pick that back up.
one? Those are
I read her
chunkier
other
books.
series.
The Diviners.
The Diviners.
I've heard
Love
really
that.
good things
I
about that one.
DNF'd that
Yeah.
series too.
Becky.
That's historical too. Oh my god.
I
Yeah,
know
see,
it is.
You have this
That is
idea
so
of your
good.
that Laura has this idea of her reading taste that's just completely wrong.
I guess.
Like, I don't like this. No, you just didn't like this historical.
This historical fiction.
When does historical fiction work for me? And I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it also has magic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the audiobook is what made me DNF it because I hated the audiobook for some reason. The narrator's voices grated on me.
no,
Yeah.
that's my favorite narrator.
Oh.
Who is it?
January Lavoie.
Oh.
She does distinct voices for each and every single character, and it's amazing. Like she can make herself
Something about
sound
it
like
just
an old
maybe they were
man,
too
and it's
whiny or
amazing.
something. I don't know, but I had DNF'd that. I don't know.
No, I love that. Oh my god.
Book club over.
Yeah, so now we're talking about books we used to read and narrators.
Yeah.
So, so how about we wrap this up? And Becky, or whose month was it next month? Whose pick was it?
Me.
Laura, you want to
Yeah.
introduce next month's?
Yes, next month we're going to be reading Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch. I should have brought the book with me. It's like right over there. Which is a witchy middle grade about Eva who needs to obtain a particular, what is it? Novice witch. She needs to make novice witch before her 13th birthday or she gets her magic taken away forever. But she doesn't have a lot of magic to begin with. And it seems really cute. So our live show for that is going to be on my channel, A Book Circus, on the 25th.
5th.
Is that right? The 25th
Mhm.
at 8.
7.
7. Okay, never mind. The 25th at 7.
Eastern. 7 Eastern. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
25th, the Sunday, the 25th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and it's 7 Eastern, so 6 Central.
Mhm.
Never mind.
And then I'll be hosting reading sprints on
Mhm.
February 18th at
Eva.
5 p.m. Eastern. So,
Sounds good.
if you need help or getting it read or want to join us.
Yep.
That's the time to do it.
All right. Anything else we want to say about this book?
I'm glad it's done.
Thanks, Becky was my pick. Screw you.
There's the book.
There's the book.
Mom got it for me.
It's cute.
It looks cute.
All right. Well, this concludes the first official meeting of the Black Hat Book Coven. And Kristen, welcome. How was your first one go?
It was fun. Look at us go. It's
There
like,
you go.
It
Okay.
can only go up from here.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I'm going to reserve my opinion on that. I'm about to read a middle grade.
I
so-
mean, yeah, for Jackie, it could probably go down, but
Yeah.
for the rest of us,
I have
could probably
hope.
go up.
I'm fingers crossed it just reads really fast because middle grade tends to read really fast. So my
Mhm.
fingers are crossed it's going to read really fast so I can just bust it out real quick. That's
Not
my
even expecting you to
thing.
read it, Jackie.
Thanks.
If
Well-
you do, I will be surprised.
Well, get your surprise hat on.
That's
Because
got to
that's
prove
one of
you
my
wrong.
goals was to read all the books for this book club this year and to beat all of these because I wasn't able to beat all of them last year. And that pissed me off.
That's because you were
So-
having a moment. You were going through it.
I was having a fucking breakdown, end of fucking story. Let's just be honest about that, okay? I was
Mhm.
3 sheets to win about being fucking admitted. All right.
Mm.
I was insane. And not just the good insane.
And the fact that you read books that you weren't even part of the discussion for, props.
And they got some of the Sleufa got nominated for First Lady Reads Awards in a lot of categories. It didn't stand a chance, but it got nominated. So
That it did.
I put one of his other books on my must read, my 12 and 24, his Krampus. I put Krampus on there, and I got another one of his books. What was the one that I got?
The
I don't remember.
Child?
It's over
The
there.
child thief or
Yeah, it's gold.
Oh, maybe
Can't
not
see the
then,
titles from
because
here,
that one's
so.
black. Does it have a
Yeah,
creepy
it's more
child?
Cover's gold,
I don't
I
know.
think.
Those are the only two I know of his are
Yeah.
Krampus and the Child Thief.
Yeah, he's got quite a few.
got a
actually. He's got
few,
like
yeah.
5 or 6 books. I'll just look it up and
Mhm.
I'll let you know. Because now it's going to bother me because it's across the room and I can't see that far. Because I'll be blind and it's dark over there. So let me go. Let's see. Brum. I went to his website and saw some of his artwork. His artwork is dope as fuck, by the way. You can buy it. So if any of those
Oh,
pictures
you
in the book,
can?
yeah, you can buy his.
How
It's
much
all
are
his
those
original artwork.
babies?
Like it's pretty awesome. So if you're like an art person, he's got some good stuff.
Becky's gonna
Lost
go buy
Gods.
that
That's the one I
fish
have.
guy.
Lost Gods.
Oh, the Lost God.
Yeah, the little fish guy, because I thought he was so cute.
Because you said he was cute.
yeah.
The fish guy.
Oh, the fish one? He was creepy as fuck, dude.
I know. During the live stream,
Bro.
Becky said she thought he was cute. I was like, can we rewind on that?
Cute in a creepy little way.
Okay, so when I
No.
bought Krampus, I didn't even realize there's artistry inside of it. It wasn't until I got Slewfoot that I saw the artwork and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, I wonder if Krampus has it. And I looked into it and it does. The artistry in Krampus is super pretty, like in a creepy macabre way. It's stunning. Yeah, for sure. Really, really enjoyed it. Like I told Lauren, I'm like, so when I get my library, I kind of want to buy one of this guy's paintings because they're awesome. He's like, they're creepy. I'm like, I don't care.
I mean, hello.
My library. Thanks.
That's the
You
vibe.
know who he married? I mean, I'm not even married to you, and I would expect that from you.
I don't wear a
He
violet
married you on
around.
Halloween. Why is that such a weird thought?
Okay, he married me on. I didn't. Let me just say the story so it's actually out on the internet so people believe me. I did not pick this date. He did. I gave him 3 dates in October. One of them was off the table because it was already anniversary for one of his family members, but it was an important date to us because we both like Full Metal Alchemist, and it's the date in this pocket watch that the kid carries. I can't think of what it is, but it's an important date. It's Full Metal Alchemist Day. And the next one was October 10th of 2020 because we got married in 2020. So it would have been 10/10/20 would have been our anniversary. And then Halloween was on a Saturday, and one of the people in my wedding party's wedding was actually on Halloween as well, one of my bridesmaids. And I asked him, like, do you feel comfortable with this? And she said yes. Ironic part is my husband was in her wedding because he was married to her sister prior to me. So yeah. Yeah. Funny story. But he picked the wedding date because he picked it so he would never forget it. He can't forget Halloween, so he never forget our
Oh, that's
anniversary.
hilarious.
That's why he picked
Wow.
it.
I mean, I
That
never
sounds like a reason a man would pick a wedding date to me.
I
don't
wanted to be
forget your
married in
anniversary. I'm like,
November,
yeah, it's Halloween.
and he
it's
said
Jackie's
absolutely not.
anniversary.
So it would no October was the closest fall date that I could get with like the fall foliage going on where I'm at, because November was out of the question because it's deer season.
Did you have like
Oh,
a
fair,
black
yeah.
dress on?
No, my mom
What?
bought my
Come
wedding dress, so
on.
I couldn't have a black dress. My bridesmaids wore black, but I did carry a bouquet that when I held it right here, it touched the ground.
Oh, pretty.
And they had Dragon Ball Z cufflinks, and I made their boutonnieres out of D20 dice or D&D dice. So you have the 7 dice set. So our anniversary date's actually in the bouquet. So I had 4 dice, and it said 10, 30, 1, and then 20. So you could see all the numbers.
Fancy.
So yeah. So
I only
10,
know
3,
one
0.
other person who got married on Halloween, and she was crazy. So
I had a Gothic Victorian wedding without the black wedding dress. I wanted a black wedding dress. I did because I prefer.
I think that crazy girl actually had one too. Pretty sure my
I'm pretty
sister was
sure,
a bridesmaid for her. She was cuckoo.
You know Maggie from Maggie Books and Stuff. I think she got married on Halloween.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
The craziest thing we did at our wedding is my husband collects swords, and we had Baltimore
You
Knife
slit each
Company.
other's throats and drink each other's blood.
No,
You're
no.
really ruining my expectations, Jackie.
He's expecting
I had
this
a
to be
pretty-
a darker wedding
I
than it was.
had a very Gothic looking ceremony. And I had like 400 and something candles lit. They had to call the fire department to make sure that many candles could be lit in one small space. They didn't tell me that part until afterwards because I was about to lose my shit because I had all real candles. I didn't have any fake except for the ones that they carried. The girls carried because they had to be fake. So they were battery operated. But the craziest thing we did was Lauren collects swords, and I had a custom made rapier sword for him to carry with the belt and the sheath and everything. It was custom made by Baltimore Knife Company, and that sword cost as much as my dress and veil combined.
Oh my god.
So that was his dress. And that's how he argued. He's
Wow.
like, you get a dress you're only wearing once. I get a sword that I only wear once. I'm like, son of a bitch. I can't argue with that logic. So that's how he got a custom made sword. That's in our room. So yeah.
Kinky.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw this on Pinterest and I really want to do it. One of these days I'm going to do it. Because we had skeletons at our wedding. We had 2 skeletons sitting side by side.
Okay, see, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yes,
They were holding a newspaper, and the newspaper was my friend does graphic design, and she designed the whole thing. I gave her all the articles. But it was like our story. We did this cinematic wedding countdown. We watched a movie every single week for the entire year prior to us getting married. That was like based off some kind of prompt. We took pictures. So we had that. We had little bios. I had a comic strip. I had an ad area where I put all of my vendors and their business cards in it. Yeah, I went all the fuck out for a printing company, so I was able to get that done for a pretty decent price. But one of the skeletons broke when they were moving it, and they were the higher dollar movable skeletons. So I was like, I don't want to get rid of it. So I want to take the torso and spray paint it black, and then take my bouquet apart and then use the flowers to interweave it, and then stick his sword through it and hang it in our bedroom. I've always wanted to do that. I saw on Pinterest, and I thought it was super cool. And I do centerpieces. I did the centerpieces at my wedding. So I think I can do it. I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. But we did have skulls at my wedding. There were skull centerpieces and candles at my wedding, and we did a choreographed Venetian waltz to heavy. Huh?
That's giving me more of what I'm imagining a Halloween wedding should be.
And we did a choreographed Venetian waltz for our first dance to Metallica's "Nothing Else Matters."
Yeah, that.
And he wore black tail and coat and tail, and the guys wore morning suits. That's actually what they were called. The tuxedo was a morning suit.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
A Victorian style morning suit, and they hadn't been ordered from the men's warehouse, wherever. They're like, no one's ever ordered these, and I was like, I like this way it is. Go for that. Done.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I was very proud of my wedding, and it was during COVID, so that sucked.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. The best though was my gag of my vows. We all know I love to talk. Okay, we all know this.
You don't
My vows. I wrote on cards. Okay, wrote on cards, and we did rock paper scissors. Who gets to go first with their vows? And I won. And I'm like, shit. So I'm holding these cards, and I read the first card, and then I drop them, and I have attached them so they're accordion style, and they drop to the floor, and everybody lost their shit. Because, mind you, prior to this, we had filled out this survey from the person who married us, separated from each other, and she was reading our answers. I thought she was going to piecemeal my answer to make it kind of work with everything. No, she read my answers verbatim, and I wrote paragraphs for 15 questions. So my ceremony was like an hour and a half extra just because of all the reading.
Oh my god.
And then you drop all these vows, and Lauren's face was like, I need a chair.
You probably had one card.
He had two. He'll hold them. He's like, I've got two. And it's really funny because his cousin that we just went to his wedding, who wasn't able to come to our wedding because of COVID. He was in it, but he wasn't able to come. Did the same thing and didn't even know about it. He's like, I only have two cards. Two. So, yeah, it was great. That was the best. I kept that gag quiet for 2 years. Our engagement was 2 years. I kept that gag quiet. Only my mom knew about it. Only my mom, and then our person who was marrying us knew about it. Everybody else had no idea.
How long was your actual wedding?
Huh?
How long was your actual wedding?
The ceremony?
Yeah.
I think it start to finish, I think it was an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh my god.
And most of that was involved reading and talking.
I was in my cousin's wedding, and I was like a bridesmaid, and I was like, come on, let's get this over with.
Yeah, my bridesmaids weren't happy. We had an open bar, which made up for it, so they were all happy because we had an open bar.
I was a bridesmaid in a Greek wedding. Have you ever been to one of those?
Ooh, no.
And
I always
you have
wanted
a while, huh?
And the bridesmaids have to stand the entire time. It was like 3 hours. It was
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I'd have been like,
But I bet that was a party, though. I bet that was a party. Yeah.
lots of plates. We lost a lot of plates that day.
Now I'm just like, please don't invite me to your wedding. Please don't. I don't want to be there. Unless it's like 30 minutes. I don't want to be there.
My engagement was 2 years long on purpose. Like we spent 2 years planning it on purpose. Yeah. Because I
Did
made
you
a lot.
pay for your bridesmaids' dresses?
No.
Or did you
paid
make
for their
them
own.
pay? Oh, see, my cousin did the same thing for me.
Yeah.
Hope she never comes across this video and hears me shit talking about it.
No,
But I was like,
they
good
had
God, I
two-
gotta pay how much for this fucking dress I'm only gonna wear once?
But
I
Jackie,
knew
your
the
dresses
dress.
are black, right? So black, I feel like.
Yeah,
you can
they all
wear
had the
them.
same dress.
No, this was
and
maroon. It was maroon.
Yeah.
I knew this dress before Lauren even proposed to me. Like, I found this dress before me and Lauren were even dating. Like, I knew this was gonna be my bridesmaid's dress because I loved it so much because it was a dress that I would wear. And dresses got a style and everything like that, but I knew this was the one that I really wanted. So I was like, this is what I'm thinking about when I was telling them. And then when I found the dress was still available, I told them, and they didn't buy it until like the very end, till they needed to, which is fine. But it's the dress that I picked out before I even dated Lauren. Same bridesmaid's dress. Yeah, my wedding was planned. I just didn't have the groom. It was planned.
Yeah.
Just had to slot him in.
Yeah. The only thing
I
that
did
changed
that for a
was
while too. I had a wedding dress all picked out, and then I'm like, yeah, I ain't never getting married, so fuck that.
Yeah,
the
same.
dress I
I was
wanted didn't work. I wanted a black dress, and my mom was like, "I'm not paying for it." And I'm like, I don't want to add an extra cost of a dress. So I conceded on that because it wasn't a huge deal to me. I wasn't going to wear the dress again, and the girls were already wearing black anyway, so I knew it wasn't the end all for me. But I tried on 27 dresses, and I have a picture of me in
that's
every
hilarious.
single dress I contemplated. Yeah, I named all my dresses, and this one was Ariel. This one was my Ariel dress.
Was it a
And it's
fishtail?
not a fish. It's not like a mermaid style
No
dress, but
mermaid.
it just made me feel like Ariel at the end of the movie because
Oh.
with my red hair and everything. So
Oh yeah.
Mm.
There you go.
I tried a plethora of dresses, 27, which is just ironic because I never counted until the very end. I'm like, I tried on 27.
That's a great
awesome.
movie.
Yep. And my sister ended up picking up my dress. My sister's the one that found it.
Hmm.
Yep. It was kind of funny. So, and then I had a cathedral style veil. So
I tried on wedding dresses one time when I was like 18.
You did.
Mhm.
It's not fun. It is not.
Oh,
fun.
I had a blast. It was for like one of my
That's because you're
sister's
fucking
friends.
e-bitty.
She was like,
Okay.
she was getting married, and so I was like, well, I ain't gonna sit here in this stupid David's bridal and be bored and wait for her to pick. So I went around and started trying on the dresses myself. Lady's like, when's your wedding? I'm like, I gave her some random ass date. I want to
And like you were
damn dress
18,
too.
she's like, "What? This like child bride? You
Yep.
probably looked young."
I remember trying.
I'm gonna
on.
take us off of live. Bye, guys. We're just
Yeah,
gonna go.
Bye.
I forgot we were still live.
Thanks for joining us and enjoying our chat and talking about my wedding story. If you'd like to know more, you can come to my channel and I'll tell you the whole fucking story. So, bye, guys.
That was